The first time the millionaire collapsed, it happened in a room that smelled of lemon cleaner and old money. He was standing by the window, pale light falling across his face, when his knees buckled and his hand clawed uselessly for the glass. The only person who saw it was the man on his hands and knees, wiping fingerprints from the marble floor, a single dad who cleaned offices at night and mansions by day so his little girl wouldn't grow up hungry. In that instant, while the city outside hummed with life, two strangers' lives quietly collided. Ethan Cross had everything people dream of, an ocean view estate in Malibu, a company worth billions, his name whispered with respect in boardrooms and envy at cocktail parties. And yet, for years, he had been sick. No diagnosis ever stuck. Doctors came and went, prescribing pills that dulled the pain but never touched the truth. Some days he couldn't stand without shaking. Other nights he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how a man so powerful could feel so fragile. The world called him a genius. The tabloids called him cursed. Ethan called it loneliness. Daniel Morales never read tabloids. His mornings began before sunrise, packing lunches and braiding his daughter Sophia's hair while she sleepily told him about her dreams. His wife had died 3 years earlier, leaving behind hospital bills and a silence that echoed through their small apartment. Cleaning paid the rent. It paid for Sophia's school shoes. It didn't pay for rest. But Daniel never complained. He had learned that kindness was cheaper than bitterness, and far more valuable. When Ethan came to on the floor that morning, it was Daniel's voice he heard first, steady, calm, grounding him like an anchor. Daniel had propped him up, offered water, and called for help with a gentleness that surprised Ethan more than the pain. Most people hovered, afraid to touch him, afraid of the wealth, the power, the aura. Daniel just knelt there, as if helping a fallen man was the most natural thing in the world. "You're okay," Daniel said softly. "I've got you." Those words lingered long after the doctors left and the mansion fell quiet again. Ethan noticed Daniel after that. Noticed how he worked without rushing, how he hummed sometimes, how he always greeted the staff by name. He noticed how Daniel asked, sincerely, how Ethan was feeling, not out of obligation, but concern. One afternoon, during a particularly bad spell, Ethan waved him over. "You ever think it's strange?" Ethan asked, staring at his trembling hands. "Having everything, and still feeling like you're dying." Daniel thought of hospital rooms, of holding his wife's hand as machines beeped around them. He thought of Sophia asking why mommy wasn't coming home. "Sometimes," he said carefully, "the sickness isn't just in the body." Ethan laughed weakly. "Doctors would love you." Daniel shrugged. "Doctors fix bodies. People fix people." The words struck deeper than any prescription. Ethan began asking Daniel to stay and talk while he worked. They spoke about life, loss, and the quiet courage it took to wake up each day and try again. Ethan learned about Sophia, about how Daniel saved every extra dollar for her future. Daniel learned about Ethan's childhood in foster homes, about the hunger that never quite left him even after he made his fortune. Weeks passed, and Ethan's sickness worsened. Episodes grew longer, more violent. One night, after collapsing again, Ethan confessed something he'd never said out loud. "I think I'm being poisoned," he whispered, eyes glassy with fear. Daniel froze. "That's a serious thing to say." "I know how it sounds," Ethan said. "But it only started after I changed my will. After I cut people off." Daniel remembered the way the meals were delivered, always by the same house manager. He remembered the bitterness in the man's eyes when Ethan had fired several executives. He remembered something else too, the faint, bitter almond smell that sometimes lingered in the kitchen trash. Instead of laughing it off, Daniel listened. Over the next few days, quietly, carefully, Daniel paid attention. He noticed patterns. Ethan got sick after certain meals, on certain days. Daniel began bringing Ethan simple food, soups he made himself, sandwiches from home. On those days, Ethan felt better. Not cured, but stronger. Clearer. Daniel shared his concerns with a doctor he trusted, a woman who volunteered at a free clinic Daniel cleaned at night. She listened, ran tests, and called him back with a voice tight with urgency. "It's slow poisoning," she said. "Small doses. Enough to weaken him, not enough to kill him quickly." The truth shattered the silence of the mansion like glass. Authorities got involved. The house manager was arrested. The betrayal cut deep, but the poisoning stopped. And slowly, incredibly, Ethan began to heal. His hands steadied. His color returned. The man who had once struggled to stand began walking the beach at sunrise, breathing in the salt air like it was medicine. But something else had changed too. One evening, Ethan asked Daniel to sit with him on the terrace. The sky burned orange and pink, waves crashing below like a steady heartbeat. "You saved my life," Ethan said simply. Daniel shook his head. "I just paid attention." Ethan smiled. "That's more than most people ever do." He asked about Sophia again. About her dreams. About college. About what Daniel wanted, if money wasn't the answer. "I want her to feel safe," Daniel said. "I want her to grow up knowing kindness still matters." Ethan was quiet for a long time. A month later, Daniel came home to find a letter taped to his door. Inside was a deed to a small house near Sophia's school, fully paid, along with a note written in careful, deliberate handwriting. "You didn't just clean my floors. You cleaned the lies out of my life. Pass it on." Daniel tried to refuse. He went to the mansion, heart pounding, ready to argue. Ethan stopped him with a raised hand. "This isn't charity," Ethan said. "It's gratitude. And it's trust." Daniel accepted, tears burning his eyes. Ethan didn't stop there. He funded the free clinic. He raised wages for his staff. He insisted on knowing the names and stories of the people who worked for him. The sickness that had once consumed him faded, replaced by something stronger than health: connection. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Ethan sat at Daniel's new kitchen table, watching Sophia do her homework. She looked up and smiled at him, missing tooth and all. "Daddy says you're his friend," she said. Ethan swallowed, emotion tightening his throat. "I'm honored." For the first time in his life, the billionaire felt rich in a way no money had ever given him. Not because he had been saved, but because someone had cared enough to see him, not as a fortune, not as a problem, but as a human being worth protecting. And Daniel, the cleaning single dad who had once scrubbed floors in silence, understood something just as powerful: sometimes the greatest kindness isn't grand or loud. Sometimes it's simply refusing to look away when someone falls.